Hey guys, this is Camfrey15 and I'm back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another fairy tale arc review. Now, technically, at this point in this review, I'm officially caught up to where I'm watching. I've only dabbled a little bit into the Irrational Space Arc in my rewatch of Fairy Tale, but we are finally here with the final arc in terms of the introduction to the Fairy Tale series, or I guess you could say the ending to the final arc in season one, if you're going to go by season listing. And this is the Battle of Fairy Tale arc, which essentially covers Laxus trying to have complete control of the guild because he feels that the guild's reputation has been, I guess you can say, thrown in the mud and stuff like that. So the Battle of Fairy Tale arcs covers Fairy Tale manga chapters 103 to 130, 130, while in the anime it covers episodes 41 to 51. So you get 10 episodes of this arc. I'm not counting up to how many chapters, but that's a lot of chapters you have to read if you read the manga. But obviously most people are going to watch the anime, but I'm going to put the chapters just in case you like to read manga. Anyways, some very important characters along with their English dub voice actors. Since I watched the English dub, Laxus is voice acted by Patrick Seitz. We all know who Patrick Seitz is. He's very boisterous in all his roles he takes, and you can easily identify his roles. He's he's Frankie in One Piece. So obviously I would say that's probably his biggest role, maybe next to Laxus. Another huge role he has is Endeavor, which I would say again is up there for another big role of his, because hey, he's Endeavor as well, and we all know how much he likes to say Shoto. So yeah, so those are some of his big roles. In terms of Evergreen, I didn't even know this, but Evergreen, in terms of the English dub, is voice acted by Caitlin Glass, who voice acts Mina Ashido, Mina Ashido from My Hero Academia, Vados from Dragon Ball Super, and Vivi Nefertari from One Piece. I would probably say Mina would probably be the biggest role, but Vivi's definitely up there, because hey, it's One Piece. But I feel like they're kind of all evened out. But yeah, but it's cool to see that she is Evergreen. Now, Freed is voice acted by John Bergermeyer, and some of his famous voice acting, roles in dubs are obviously Tien or Tenshinhan from Dragon Ball Z or anything Dragon Ball related, and obviously being Shigure Soma from, again, just like I said a few videos ago, from the highly touted Fruits Basket, which again, give that show a watch because that show is greatness. So yeah, now Big Slow, it's gonna get kind of thing. Now he actually has two voice actors. His first one was Scott Freeman, and the other one was Tyler Walker. Now, if you're wondering about Mr. Freeman, if you're just wondering, what, did he pass away or something? No. Essentially, he got in trouble for getting to the business of child pornography. So yeah, that's pretty bad, and because of it, Funimation automatically terminated his contract. But Tyler Walker came in, and one role I found that was pretty big for him was Gang Orca from My Hero Academia. There's some other roles out there, but I just didn't want to mention any of them. Another big influential character in this arc, she isn't as big, but still pretty knowledgeable, or pretty much of a big influence in this arc, is Levy, and her voice actor in the dub is Christy Kang. The only one I know that I saw was Wanai. If you don't know who Wanai is, go watch A Certain Scientific Railgun, and you'll find out she's one of the one girl's best friends. But she appears in many other animes too. I like her voice. Her voice is pretty cute and nice. And lastly, though, probably one of the biggest voice actors in obviously the series is Matarov, who's a big character, and he's voice acted by Robert Bruce Elliott, who some of his roles are obviously Captain Ginyu and Edward Newgate, aka Whitebeard from One Piece. I would probably say all three of those roles are pretty big. Probably Ginyu being his biggest role because it's Dragon Ball Z. But I would say Makarov would probably be a close second because it's Fairy Tail. But anyways, yeah. Now, anyways, picking up from where we last left off in the from the Tower of Heaven arc, coming into this arc, after Natsu and the others return from their vacation, they see that the guild hall has finally been fully completed, and it's just in time for the Harvest Festival, as well as they're back in time getting ready for the Fantasia Parade. Now, when they enter the guild has a lot of new features. They have a pool. Other guild members can now access the second floor. They have a souvenir shop, a cafe, and stuff like that. Some other new things is they see that Gajil and Juvia are now officially members of the Fairy Tail Guild. Most people have resentment towards Gajil, especially after what he did in the Phantom Lord arc. But while more people are more accepting of Juvia and stuff like that. Now, during the Harvest Festival and stuff like that, Fairy Tail likes to throw some events and stuff like that for the guild to celebrate. And one of the biggest things to celebrate is the fact that there's going to be essentially a beauty pageant called the Miss Fairy Tail Contest. Essentially, all the girl wizards in the guild essentially kind of, I guess you can say, pose and kind of have, I guess you can say, a beauty contest to see which one is going to be the winner of Miss Fairy Tail and stuff like that. So, yeah. Now, the thing is, Laxus eventually hits up a dark guild, defeats them, and the dark guild kind of just says, "Oh, Fairy Tail's kind of weak and stuff like that," and this gets under Laxus' skin because he's feeling like not a lot of people are giving Fairy Tail the respect that, in his eyes, they feel like he should deserve. Now, we come over to the next day, and we see Jet and Troy with Levy confront Gajil. And Jet and Troy, well, Lobby isn't too keen on attacking or fighting Gajil, so she's kind of like, I think we shouldn't do this. Like, look, we probably shouldn't do anything to bother him or anything. But Jet and Troy, they essentially take out their anger for what he did to them in the Phantom Lord arc by essentially hanging them on a tree and everything and stuff like that. But Gajil doesn't fight back, and essentially Levy picks with the fact that if she wonders if this is his way of apologizing / having them accept him for who he is and stuff like that. Now, Laxus eventually gets involved, and he essentially calls this whole thing weak by Gajil and stuff like that, and he attacks Gajil, brings him down, but when it looks like he's going to attack Levy, Gajil gets up and protects her and stuff like that. And this is when essentially Laxus is at his breaking straw. He contacts, obviously, his three kind of, I guess you could say, subordinates, which are the Thunder Legion, to help him take over Fairy Tail. Now, on the day of the Fantasia Parade, or the Harvest Festival, essentially the Miss Fairy Tail beauty pageant is going on, but it's later interrupted thanks to Evergreen. And we find out that she essentially, along with Lucy, turns all the other Fairy Tail girls who participated in this contest all into stone. And essentially, Laxus says that there's going to be a battle amongst Fairy Tail comrades called the Battle of Fairy Tail. And in order to save the girls from being smashed is that in 3 hours, you have to find out who the strongest Fairy Tail member is, as well as that strong Fairy Tail member has to defeat not only the Thunder Legion, but Laxus himself as well. So if he wants to save the girls and everything. And they have 3 hours to do that. So essentially every boy in the guild, and there was like only Lockie was kind of like one of the few girls who didn't participate in this. Otherwise, there was just fodder girls who essentially, are fighting in this whole battle of Fairy Tail. Now, Makarov and Natsu try to get involved themselves to stop Laxus, but they can't leave because Freed put an enchantment that said that anybody over the age of 80 essentially can't leave the guild, which in Natsu's case, obviously he doesn't look like he's 80, but it definitely hints and foreshadows at a future plot line when it comes to Natsu and the other Dragon Slayers, because we see that it happens to Gajil later on too. Now, the thing is, we see most of the Fairy Tail members fight each other, and even if Fairy Tail members are, and some Fairy Tail members using dark tactics against each other to win because all they care about is just saving the girls and stuff like that. Now, Gray, he actually runs into Big Slow, but he ends up losing because he thinks he stopped his little drone stuff, but we find out that Big Slow can transfer the souls of that into other inanimate objects and stuff like that. So pretty dangerous stuff. But he ends up beating Gray. Elfman ends up fighting Evergreen in I guess you can say, in a future couple matchup, because they essentially are hooked up characters. And I don't know if they're dating, but you definitely can tell by the time you get later into the series. Elfman and Evergreen definitely like each other. Again, sorry if I spoiled this for you, but you probably should have known what you're getting yourself into if you've seen the entire Fairy Tail stuff. So yeah, but essentially, Elfman loses to Evergreen. Freed prevents Redis from leaving, and he eventually beats Redis. Redis was trying to leave to go get Porla Yusuka to find something to break the, you can say, the stone spell. Those fights are nothing special. Most of the fights in the Battle of Fairy Tail isn't nothing special until really, I guess you can say, the Laxus versus Gajil and Natsu fight and stuff like that. So yeah, now throughout this whole process, Natsu keeps mentioning, why would Laxus do this when he's a part of the guild and stuff like that. And Makarov is like, he's still, even after all this stuff, even after all these things, Laxus is done. Natsu's still considering Laxus a member of the guild and stuff like that. Now, we see a thought projection or lightning projection from Laxus. He appears behind Makarov and Natsu, saying that since there's essentially no one left to fight, you might as well just hand over the guild to me. And that's what Makarov's like, so this is what this is about. Essentially, the reason why Laxus is doing all this is not only because he wants a stronger Fairy Tail. Makarov reminisces in the past of how young Laxus was more of a carefree, upbeat, happy kid, and he was very respectful, very kind, and very loving, and stuff like that. But as time progressed, Laxus grew a hatred for Makarov, because he was kind of, I guess you can say, upset over the fact that Makarov kicked out his father from the guild, and he never really got over that and stuff like that. So that's why he kind of wants to take over Fairy Tail for his own self and everything. And essentially, Makarov tells Laxus, like, I have no problem handing over the guild, but not to the likes of you, because you're not ready to have that type of power and stuff like that. So what happens next up is Urza eventually breaks out thanks to her glass eye, or her fake eye. And then at the same time, Mystigan also shows up to confront Laxus as well. And essentially, because of this, Urza goes out. She ends up fighting Evergreen, and she ends up beating Evergreen fairly easily, which releases all the girls. All the girls are essentially free, and they're ready to fight. But because of this, Laxus is disappointed in Evergreen, so then, if it wasn't bad enough, he was holding the girls in Fairy Tail hostage, he holds the entire people of Magnolia hostage by creating this whole thing called the Thunder Palace, which have lightning lacrima with body link magic near the top of the city. And in an hour, it's all going to come down and essentially kill almost damn near everybody in Magnolia. Now, Bisca actually shoots one of the lightning lacrimas down, but since it has body magic attached to it, she essentially gets shocked. And if you hit one of these things, essentially you're damn near almost killed, essentially. Two, on the second part, Master Makarov collapses because I think the stress got to him too much, to the point we find out it's one of the first few times they make a reference to the fact that he's on the verge of fucking death. Don't worry, this isn't the last time I'm going to say Master Makarov's on the verge of death, or he's going to get killed. Yeah, you can probably count if you've seen this series how many times they say Master Makarov's gonna die here, and he doesn't. Don't worry, we'll get to that, especially the final season one. Lord have mercy. Oh, brother. So that happened. So the other girls decide to go fight and try to stop Laxus themselves, while Levy stays behind and she tries to break Freed's enchantment of getting Natsu and Gray out of obviously the guild. Now Lucy, she runs into Bixlow, and with the help of Loki, she manages to beat Bixlow. Fight wasn't nothing special. Now Kana and Juvia, they get trapped into an enchantment by Freed, which we see Freed time and time again in this arc. Essentially tell Laxus like, hey, I think we've gone too far. You know, I think we should probably stop this. Like, look, I think we made our point, man. I think we should just cut this out and just kind of go back and tell Master Makarov we apologize for everything, man. Because this is going a little bit too far. And obviously Laxus, he ain't paying attention. He wants what he wants, and all he wants is trying to become guild master. And he's telling Freed, shut up. If you're against me, then I might as well just take you out right now. And obviously Freed, who's indebted to Laxus, he's like, all right, fine, I'll go take care of people. I was just giving an honest opinion. So he ends up forcing Kana and Juvia to fight because of enchantment, but Juvia doesn't want to fight, and Juvia sacrifices her life by hitting herself with one of the lightning lacrimas, saying that she considers she hasn't been in a guild like this with this much camaraderie and much care and much love for each other and stuff like that. And she's happy to call, people in Fairy Tail not only her friends, but her true family and stuff like that. And because of this, Kana essentially acknowledges the fact that Juvia is that she embodies what being a true fairy tale wizard at. And then Kana tries to fight Freed, but Freed is too strong for Kana. It gets to the point where Elfman eventually jumps in after Mary Jane comes across him, and Elfman tries to stop Freed, but it gets to the point where Freed's putting these enchantments on these very painful enchantments that could end up almost killing Elfman, and in response to one of her siblings almost dying, and the fact that she doesn't want to see that again, this time with her brother, this is when we see Mary Jane's true power, and we see her transformation magic, and it's Satan Soul, or it's devil, takeover magic, or demon takeover magic, Satan Soul, and essentially she is a beast in this form, and she shows why she was one of the strongest members in Fairy Tail in her prime, and that she was very deadly, and she beats Freed up to a dang near bad living pulp. She manages, when it looks like she would probably give a finishing blow or a blow to kill Freed, she doesn't do it. She deforms, and she tells Freed, we need to stop this. Fairy Tail, our family members shouldn't be fighting each other and stuff like that. This is just pointless. And essentially Freed tells her but I'm indebted to Laxus. And essentially Mary Jane tells him hey, just because you're indebted to Laxus doesn't mean you can just ignore the other people around you in the guild. They're still people that you should consider family. And essentially kind of the premise of this arc really is acknowledging the fact that, even though in a huge big fan group of family, even if it's a bunch of misfits and stuff, they get into arguments. Yes, you're gonna get in arguments with your family, but at the end of the day, you're always gonna come back together again because you're family. You're gonna always be there for each other because you're family. And that's how Fairy Tail sees each other, all of its members to each other, that they're family. So because of this, Freed falls, and all the Thunder Legion are all taken out. So Laxus is the one remaining person. Now Mystigan comes to fight Laxus, but Laxus overwhelms Mystigan and catches Mystigan off guard when Natsu and Urza show up. Reveals the fact that Mystigan apparently is Jalal, but he's not Jalal. So it builds the ever-growing mystery of the fuck who Jalal really is. But because of this, it looks like Urza's gonna fight Laxus, but Natsu begs Urza that he wants to fight her. So Urza is like, all right, I'll let you fight him. You just better not lose. While Urza goes to take care of the Thunder Palace. Now, her and the other Fairy Tail members, thanks to Max with his Warren and with his telepathy magic, managed to get in contact with everybody in Fairy Tail. They all fire attacks at the Thunder Palace, and even though they all get shocked by the lightning lacrima, they all save Magnolia from essentially utter destruction. Now, in terms of the Laxus versus Natsu battle, Natsu starts to have a little bit of trouble until Gajul shows up. Gajul tries to put in as much work as he can, but eventually they're too strong. Our Laxus is too strong for them to overcome. And it gets to the point where eventually we see Laxus show off his true power, and we find out that Laxus, just like Gajul and Natsu, is a dragon slayer just like them, and he has lightning dragon slaying magic. But he's not really like Gajul and Natsu, who was raised by dragons. Essentially, from his father, he was given a dragon-like infused lacrima, and that's how he's able to get his dragon slaying powers. In other words, what is later referred, thanks to Sting and Rogue, they are called second dragon slayers. Or second generation dragon slayers. And because of this, he gets an increased boost, and Natsu and Gajul cannot handle it. Now, because he's tired of Natsu and Gajul taking all these hits, that's when he's like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm going to do this one spell I've been training, and he's about to activate Fairy Law. But in the meantime, Free and Levy show up, and Free tells him at first, like, stop this, Laxus. This isn't worth going through all the trouble and stuff like that. And Levy tries to tell or snap some reality into Laxus, saying, Laxus, you know, your grandfather is about to die. And if you don't do something, he could end up dead on the hospital bed. And it looks like Laxus would give a little, it looks like Laxus is going to give a little bit of sympathy. But at the end of the day, is like, yeah, fuck that. I don't care. That means it's easy for me to take control of the guild now. So what happens next is he activates the Fairy Law. And this is what kind of is the turning point in this battle, which makes Laxus's character development really freaking good. And hold on a second, guys. Okay, back with what I was saying. But in this moment, this was one of my favorite moments, of the fact that after the aftermath of Laxus using the Fairy Law spell, we see that nobody in Fairy Tail and nobody in Magnolia is affected by the Fairy Law, especially, like I said, Fairy Tail members, is because at the end of the day, we know that Fairy Law attacks anybody the user sees as its enemy. And the reason why nobody was affected by this, and Free tells Laxus the most, saying like, Laxus, the spell didn't work because at the end of the day, you see everyone, regardless how you truly feel or how you feel in your heart, it's you know that everybody is a comrade to you, everybody's a friend, and you care about them. Essentially hitting on the fact that, you know, even though Laxus has his own selfish wishes and his own selfish desires, you know, at the end of the day, he feels the same way as everybody else in Fairy Tail feels, and the fact that he sees them all as an ally, all as friends and stuff like that. And I really do like this moment of saying that even Laxus doing this crazy spell, it goes to show you that in his heart, he really never really wanted to do this. And even we find out at the end of this arc, like, he just wanted everyone to be stronger in Fairy Tail. You know, he really never wanted to fully go through with it, even though his decisions were very, I guess you can say, hostile and stuff like that. But, you know, Laxus resents that whole thing, and he's like, screw it. I don't care. If this doesn't work, then I'll just take you out and kill you myself. But the thing is, the fight takes place on top of the cathedral castle. When it looks like Laxus is going to take out Natsu with, as I'm finding the move, a lightning dragon, heaven ward, hailbird. Gajul's, thanks to his iron club, absorbs the attack, and Natsu finishes him off with a crimson lotus exploding flame blade, and he defeats not Laxus. Now, in the aftermath of the battle, Laxus comes back in. Everybody's kind of side-eyeing him because of everything, all the trouble he's caused and everything. He goes to talk to Master Makarov, and Makarov tells him, like, I hope you learn the errors of your way of what you did and stuff like that. And Laxus, he does, like I said earlier, tell him, like, I was just trying to get the guild stronger and stuff like that. I didn't want to do all this. I didn't want to hurt them. I just wanted the guild to be stronger. Novice Macro's like, I can understand how you feel, but at the end of the day, regardless how you felt, you did something that is obviously irredeemable, and obviously something that can't be forgiven at this current point in time. Because you also have to look at it. He not only endangered his fairy tale friends and got them to fight each other in blows. He threatened some of his guildmates that he would kill them. And then he also even threatened the people of Magnolia at the same time. And, this is when Laxus kind of realized that, his father's world, his father's teaching of how to do things, of how to get to run a guild isn't the way of doing things that way. And it isn't the right way of doing that. So just like his father was, Makarov tearfully, essentially abolishes him or essentially expels him from Fairy Tale, and he walks off and he goes to search within himself to, I guess you can say, become a better person. But before he truly does leave, during the Fantasia Parade, essentially, he looks back and he sees all the Fairy Tale members given a symbol like this, essentially all of them pointing high in the air, essentially further homing the point, saying that essentially it was a way to show Laxus that even after all the trouble he has caused, everyone will always be watching over him wherever he's at. And this is this symbol is shown over and over again throughout the series. And it was a nice moment for Laxus as he tearfully leaves and stuff like that. And I think this really helped Laxus grow as a character to when he eventually comes back later in the series. You see that he's a much different character from when he was first introduced. Now, I remember my first review, I hated Laxus with a passion, and I didn't like him. Now, after rewatching the entire series, rewatching this portion, and even seeing later on what Laxus does, I have a lot more respect for the character of Laxus, and I understand where he was coming from. He just wanted his guildmates to be stronger and improve the strength, and he didn't want the Fairy Tale reputation to be obviously dragged through the mud as he thought it was. But at the end of the day, what he did was wrong, and he not only endangered his fellow guildmates' life, he endangered the entire city's life with his Thunder Palace. And the good thing is, it was good to see later on he learned from his actions to be more graciously and stuff like that. But yeah, it clearly goes to see that he does clear. Now, we hear an interesting point that Gajul he was essentially a double agent. We all thought, now earlier in the arc, we see him talking to a mysterious character, and we're thinking, oh crap, he's gonna turn on Fairy Tale. But no, he actually tells Master Makarov what was going on, which shows he's truly for Fairy Tale. And he tells him that he tells him essentially, that it was Master Ivan he got in contact with and tried to find the location of Master Ivan's guild, Raventail, which we find out that Master Ivan is Makarov's son, and that is Laxus's father. So that's going to be a whole story element that's going to be brought up later in the thing. Some other art closing out. One, I gotta make a mention. The Fantasia Parade looked like it was honestly, like, honest to God, Disneyland parade they always have at the end of Disneyland before you leave home and everything, when the park's about to close up and everything. I thought it was kind of cool. It looked really good too. So many things to clean up, which is on the Lucy side of things, is we find out Lucy's father has returned. Jude Hartfilia is back. But the only difference is Jude Hartfilia is poor. He lost essentially all his riches and stuff like that. And he comes across Lucy, and he tells Lucy, like, hey, could you give me some money? But Lucy's like, I'm not going to give you money. And he lashes out at her again, not learning his lesson from when she first told him back at the end of the Phantom Lord arc. And essentially that makes Lucy say, see, this is why I never could trust you to begin with. This is why I never, ever liked you, and this is why I ran away from home. You just never care about how I feel and how I'm doing and and all this other stuff, which again you can feel for Lucy and stuff like that, because usually your father's supposed to be a person that you're supposed to always cherish and love because that's your father and stuff like that. But again, her father treated her disrespectfully and didn't respect her wishes. Now the next day she overhears that her father's guild that he was planning on joining was getting attacked, and he thought her father was there. So she goes to the guild. She manages to save that guild, but her father never got there anyway. So he was just like now walking up on there, and he's like, "Yeah, I was walking there, so it took me till now to finally get here." And stuff like that. But thank you for saving the guild, though. That was nice of you. And that's when we kind of get an understanding from Lucy's father, how Lucy got her name. And essentially, this guild that her father is about to go to is a guild that him and her wife and Lucy's mother, Layla Hartfilia, visited at one point in their young life before Lucy was born. And at the time, now it says like Lucky. It says Lucky something. I forgot it was the full guild name, but it was Lucky something. But back in, the K was out, and it's spelled Lucy, and that's how they gave her name and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of it. And essentially, that the whole really arc, which leads into the next arc, is we get a scene where Cobra, or this sneaky individual, we know it's Cobra. He attacks this one guild. And he's leaving, essentially saying, well, it's time now to get ready. And that leads into the next arc that we're going to be talking about on the next video, and that is the Irrational Space Arc, which essentially kind of starts the whole fairy tale tradition in terms of the anime in different seasons of having these long, drag out arcs, not like multiple arcs in one season. So yeah, other than I guess a few filler arcs, but other than that, that's kind of it. But the Battle of Fairy Tale arc. It is I would say my third favorite arc. It isn't my favorite. It's kind of in the middle. But I definitely still like it, especially with the elements they were there to bring in that story, of the fact that, family shouldn't be fighting itself. And it was essentially Laxus and the Thunder Legion realizing that the fairy tale members, they treat each other like families, and they all care about each other regardless and stuff like that, as well as learning the valuable lesson that, just being strong isn't everything. Building these bonds and relationships are more important than just pure out strength and stuff like that. But I got a kick and blast. Laxus and his first featured arc. I know, like I said earlier, when I first watched it, I hated this guy and I didn't want this guy. I didn't like this guy. But when you watch the future arcs of Laxus returning, you gain an appreciation for Laxus, of how when his character started from the start of the series to where it's at by the end of the series, you see that he had a full circle change. And the time from when he gets essentially exiled from the guild to the point when he returns in Tenro Island, you can see that he grew and learned from his mistakes and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of it. So other than that, I'm gonna get up here. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day or night when checking out this video. Until then, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. So if you like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on the Battle of Fairy Tale arc, and anything in it. And again, like I said, hit the subscribe button if you want to get more Fairy Tale arc reviews, as well as hit the subscribe button to get more Fairy Tale videos. Other than that, I want to get out of here, guys. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day or night or whenever you're checking out this video. Until then, guys, stay safe out there. Peace.